you. The big question I had in my mind, guys, is that when the war started, and obviously Ukraine, smaller economy, but right now it's funded by the West right now, with especially with regards to the military. Question is like, how long can they sustain? And it seems like over the last month or so, Ukraine's been winning, sort of, right, in like Kherson and North and all that stuff. And it seems to be so. My question is, is there any way to kind of look at, like, okay, so let's say the military is like what, 500,000 million, and how long, economy wise, how long can they sustain this? That was my key
Okay.
question.
Well, there
I
is no
mean,
economy in Ukraine. Ukraine
there's
doesn't
no
have a functioning
economy.
economy. But you were
Like,
asking about victories. I mean, what? Okay, if you and me are sitting in front of each other, this is for me and Jay, just for a quick little example. If you and I are sitting in two chairs in front of each other, right, and we're sitting there staring at each other, and then I get up and I go downstairs to go get a drink, right, and then you go sit in my chair, uh, as opposed to, instead of, if you got up and beat the crap out of me and threw me out of the chair and threw me down the stairs and then sat in my chair, where does the line for having wins and victory lie? Because yes, they had Kherson and Kharkov, but they had such heavy
those weren't really
those
wins though.
those weren't wins. Those were just the Russians
Those, like,
consolidating their lines. Like, you want to
the
look at
Russians had
Kharkov.
initiative.
Yeah,
The Russians had initiative. They had no, like, Ukraine couldn't have done anything to stop those
I
retreats.
remember in
Literally
the first
nothing.
days. I remember in the first days of the Kharkov push, like when the Russians pulled out, Ukraine said, "Oh, we have 5,000 Russian casualties. Like, we're just obliterating them." And then Russia comes around and
What?
says,
Can I?
"Yeah,
It's just
Hello,
cope.
everyone.
That's coping.
it's
That's
it's
doing it
it's
to
big hope,
maximum
right?"
degree.
I may
But
answer Jai question.
we
I'm
have
also a Russian myself. I have been born in Russia, near Crimea, so I understand Ukrainian language, and I can compare myself to Greg because I think myself as Ukrainian as well as Russians. Because even in the region which I live, we had a lot of Ukrainian people coming and going for work, for example, from Donbass, Donetsk, and etc. And I think the question that you ask is not who is winning. The question should be asked: the one who will win from this war, who will profit, in my opinion, is the United States and the arm company. Because for Russia, as I see now, and for the Ukraine, this war is already lost. We had two countries which were really friendly to each other. We consider ourselves brothers, as Greg said before. We didn't uh, we didn't consider ourselves Ukrainians or Russians. We were brothers of each other. And a lot of my friends, even here where I live in Southern Europe, before the conflict, we were telling me that I asked them, "Where are you from?" And they say, "Ukrainian." For example, from Odessa. And they will say, "We're from Russia." Now, if you go ask them, we'll say we're Ukrainians and we hate Russia. So the relation to our brotherhood has been totally destroyed, and it's not been only destroyed. We are now arch enemies, or at least that's what the politics made us, or at least even as the West sees us. The common folks, even in Russia now, as I'm watching news every day, it's the idea that we are one nation is like it's going away slowly but surely.
Like I consider myself Ukrainian. That is Russian, right? You
Yes,
can be Ukrainian and Russian. They're not mutually exclusive.
I
There's
mean
this like false
even those
dichotomy.
territories, for example, the Odessa, which I mentioned, it was built by Catherine the Great, which was a Russian empress, and now it's like even the name Ukraine is I think it's coming from Ukraine, which is the far land of a country. And the victors here, I think Russia has really lost the conflict since 2014, and now it's trying to gain some gains on the territories which still considers themselves Russian. Totally, there can be no victor in this war. It's a humanitarian disaster, humanity disaster for
Yeah.
those who have, like, it's like, for me, I don't see this war like Russia and Ukraine. I don't see like Afghanistan, Iraq. For me, I see this war as brother to brother. I see this as a civil war.
It's a
And
deep tragedy. Yeah.
any Ukrainian soldier and any Russian soldier dying on the battlefield is a tragedy for me. Forget the authoritarian democratic states. Let's not talk about it. Those are ideas that, okay, they are just up in the air. But we have real people dying there, and that's a real tragedy.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
And
tough. It's tough
and
because
we should focus on this and on
Okay.
this, and the more the conflict will continue. And I think, for my experience, the Russians won't back down. That's what I think.
they shouldn't back down.
Russians never back down. I imagine when Zelensky wakes up, he's like he's like Hitler on the movie Downfall. He's like, why won't they stop? Why won't they stop? Why won't they stop? Like, I just imagine that's how he is every day, because the Russians, they fight for something just as much as the Ukrainians fight.
I think even if Russian are out of people, because we are so patriotic, we will send more until it ends. And if it escalates,
Here's the thing, though. I really do understand where you're coming from, because this tragedy is it's greater than just this sucks, right? This is a obliteration of entire generations.
And it's all because of the United States and NATO.
Right. Well, but here's the thing. If someone says we shouldn't talk about it or talk about this, I mean, we're here to really analyze what we believe with the experience that we have and the knowledge we have, where this is going and how people's lives are going to be affected. Now, yes, we can say, yes, I have this experience because I'm from here, or yes, I've read all this information so I can say this, but we need to reasonably be able to talk about it instead of kind of stopping in our tracks and imagining that we can't have this conversation. And that's what it sounds like. I want us to be able to talk about this, but we need to understand it's not even people's lives anymore. It's whole generations, right? That are going to be obliterated. And by obliterated, I do mean it, right? The young generations in Ukraine, like the kids like from 18 and below, those children, their lives have officially been thrown out the window in every regard. But here's the problem. Yes, these people have their lives been destroyed. But why isn't this stopping? Where is the supposed utopian ideals from both sides? Where is the NATO defense pact saying that coming to the table and being diplomatic? Where is Russia's analysis of the situation back in 2014? Right?
I will answer. Firstly, I just want to answer. I don't want to be dramatic about it. I just wanted to answer the Zai's questions. No matter who gains the territory, so they lose.
That's something I wanted to say too.
It's the war. I mean, if you don't know the big economies from the war is a huge economy. You mean the Americans sell weapons to Ukraine? They profit from it. They sell weapons to European countries. They say like, oh, look, Russia is attacking. Buy our weapons, and we will buy it.
Well, this whole conversation stems from when we. This whole conversation stems from where we were talking about. I'll answer that one real quick first. Will Russia conduct a second huge offensive with its new soldiers? Yeah, absolutely. But
100%.
I think that's the point random person was trying to make. Analyzing tactical minutia, right? The taking of this town and all that, and people in the chat going like, well, yeah, they took all this land, so it's a victory, or they didn't, and it's not.
Territorial victories in the Ukraine war mean nothing, though.
It's what this war is going to be, right? We need to look at what comes next, right?
I think Russia's actually fighting this war very efficiently.
I think so too. I agree with that.
Fighting very efficiently. They're doing a good job.
Yep.
Ukraine, no. I mean, there's such a backwards. Everything is backwards.
I'll agree to that one. But this is also like we have to also keep in mind that the war is kind of escalating out of control in some sense. The Russians have made it clear they are no longer negotiating, and like I honestly can't blame them really. But
I can't blame them either, to be honest.
no, right? Like, but
You don't
you
have
see,
to negotiate. They're winning.
but so this is so to answer the question. So to answer the question of the super chat. So to answer the question of the super chat really quickly, I'm not so convinced that the Russians will really push on with an offensive before necessarily springtime. I think they want to let the EU and NATO hurt as much as possible, and so they will just let this conflict right now. They say no negotiations, don't bother with moving territories or anything like that. Like, okay, fine, we will have to make a concession, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. Now they are so consolidated. If they want to, they will. But I don't think they will do that before, like, okay, now the Europeans and the Ukrainians think that they're out of the crisis. They're over with the winter. Now things are going to get better. But no, then the Russians are going to start hitting, like, and basically, like, okay, we're going to make sure that all oblasts that are annexed are going to be completely in our control. And then we may consider Dnipro or Odessa. I'm not sure which one they will take. They will probably have to. They will assess that.
I think it's the Dnipro.
There will be others.